À pleine vitesse, un avion japonais fonce sur un navire de guerre américain.
Kamikaze means literally spirit or divine wind, a word, though, that came to represent the Japanese pilots who laid down their lives to defend Japan at the end of World War II. It was coming to an end, and with the advance of US troops and the exhaustion of Japanese forces, it was a radical, even desperate strategy. Thousands of young pilots with an average age of just 21 told to deliberately crash their explosive-laden planes into enemy warships. Estimations are that around 3,800 pilots gave up their lives, and they managed to kill over 7,000 Allied naval personnel, as well as sinking several dozen warships and damaging many more.
Le navire endommagé mais non détruit pourra regagner un port où il se guérira de ses brûlures.
The pilots themselves at the time elevated by propaganda to the status of gods of war. More than 80 years on, the kamikaze pilots are deeply controversial. For some, they remain heroes who died for their country. For others, they are more symbols of Japan's militaristic past. Well, Alexei Breger, Ayana Nishikawa, Mélodie Sforza and Adam Hancock revisit the kamikazes of Japan for France 24.
Kunitake Toriya knows this path like the back of his hand. As he approaches his 100th birthday, he walks it every morning to keep fit. The elderly man is a former kamikaze pilot. His life was shaped by an aircraft, one that by sheer luck, he never had to board.
One day, the head of our training school gave a speech. He told us that out of the 500 students there, only 10 to 20% would truly be of any use. He kept repeating that we were expendable, that we were tools to be used and replaced. We were being prepared to die.
After earning his pilot's wings, Kunitake was sent to Manchuria, a territory in northeastern China, occupied by the Japanese army. By the autumn of 1944, the Imperial Japanese military was running out of steam, and they seemed unable to stop the Allied advance. Japan then ordered suicide attacks against American warships, a last-ditch effort to terrorize the enemy.
An officer would climb onto a platform and say, "When your name is called, step into this line." We were all standing at attention. Looking down, I saw my comrades' legs trembling. Their names had just been called. I think I was trembling too. To us, it was hearing a death sentence.
Kunitake watched his comrades leave one by one. He waited, fear knotting in his stomach. In the spring of 1945, he received his own kamikaze mission order and started training for months, dive bombing from an altitude of 1,500 meters, sometimes with 100 kilograms of explosives loaded onto his aircraft. But just as his deployment was approaching, Japan surrendered.
We shouted "Banzai," but not too loudly, out of respect for those who had left before us. Nobody wanted to die. 99% of them took off because it was an order. They had no other choice. We couldn't say, "I won't go."
At the end of the war, Kunitake remained in Manchuria. He was taken prisoner by the Soviets and spent nearly 2 years in captivity. When he returned to Japan, he got married and started a family. He had 2 children, including his youngest son, with whom he lives today. In Japan, Kunitake is one of the last surviving kamikaze pilots, but he has never forgotten his comrades who died in battle. He often comes to pay tribute to them at this museum.
If I could talk to them, I would say, "Don't move, I'll be joining you soon." And they would probably reply, "Look at you, you've aged. You've become an old man." They all lost their lives when they were still very young.
Nearly 4,000 Japanese pilots are believed to have lost their lives in these suicide attacks, killing 7,000 Allied soldiers and destroying 50 American ships. Before leaving, Kunitake pays his respects to an old friend. It was aboard this aircraft, more than 80 years ago, that he trained for a flight he was never meant to return from.
I composed a poem. I've come back to see you, my love, even though you, the Type 97 fighter aircraft, is now nothing but a wreck. Every time I stand before you, I become a 20-year-old young man again in an instant.
There are 15 museums dedicated to the history of the kamikazes across Japan. Most are in Kyushu, in the south of the country, the departure point for thousands of young men sent on their final missions. Takeshi Kawatoko is a guide and lecturer at the country's largest kamikaze museum, built on the site of a former training center for pilots. Some rooms have been faithfully recreated, including the quarters where the young airmen once slept.
Uchida Shinichi, 17 years old. To my grandfather and my grandmother, I have been very selfish, and I have caused you a great deal of trouble. Please forgive me. This time, your grandson is being sent to defeat the demons. If I return, it will surely be with Roosevelt's head. I must go now. Please stay healthy and live for many, many more years.
The museum preserves 10,000 handwritten letters from kamikaze pilots. Takeshi Kawatoko knows them inside out. He's been reading them every day for the past 26 years.
As a guide, it is my duty to convey as accurately as possible not only the facts about these soldiers, but also what was in their hearts, the feelings that drove them. According to their letters, their priority was to carry out their mission perfectly, to crash into an American enemy ship and sink it. They had a strong determination to fulfill this duty.
But these letters tell only part of the story. None mention the fear of death or any refusal to leave. The pilots knew their words would be read by others. From 1944 onwards, the Imperial Army censored their writings, as propaganda portrayed the kamikaze as war heroes, the ultimate symbol of warriors willing to die for the Emperor. To ensure this chapter of Japan's history is never forgotten, the museum regularly welcomes groups of middle school students, like this class today.
The fact that the kamikaze pilots lost their lives when they were almost the same age as us deeply moved me. We've engraved in our hearts how precious peace is. We're committed to not keeping this lesson to ourselves, but to passing it on to future generations.
A ceremony is held to honor the Japanese people's commitment to peace. Afterwards, Takeshi Kawatoko guides the students through the museum.
They knew they were risking their lives. With today's values, we believe that life is precious and that we should pursue our dreams and do what we truly want. But back then, people did not think that way. The idea of giving one's life for others, for society, or for the country was much stronger.
By reading the messages they wrote to their families and friends, I understood the determination with which they left, ready to risk their lives until the very end. It made me realize once again the horror of war.
I never want to find myself in the same situation as the kamikaze pilots. To make sure it never happens again, I want to contribute to building peace in the world.
After the war, the United States imposed a pacifist constitution on Japan. Over time, military commemorations diminished in a country that struggles to fully confront the violence its army has inflicted across Asia. Yet today, some Japanese people continue to preserve the memory of the pilots who died in suicide attacks.
Hello. It's a pleasure to see you.
Number 1 should be placed here at the temple, I think.
Sonoe Oho is preparing the 75th memorial ceremony for the kamikaze pilots, which is due to take place in a few days. She is the granddaughter of a vice admiral in the Imperial Japanese Navy, one of the officers who sent these young men on suicide missions. Sonoe has devoted her life to honouring their memory, trying to atone for her grandfather's role in their fate. She still remembers the first time she heard the story of the kamikaze pilots. It was at a shrine in Tokyo, where photographs of the pilots stood beside dolls dressed as brides.
I remember being deeply moved by them. My father told me the mothers of kamikaze pilots created these dolls dressed as brides for their sons who were going to die. All of these mothers' feelings are contained within them. When I heard that, even as a child, I started to cry.
The following week, we meet Sonoe again, this time at a Buddhist temple. Purification rituals are performed and masks are mandatory.
Unlike other soldiers, kamikaze pilots received a direct order from their country to die. They all accepted this mission and left with the intention of sacrificing their lives. That is why, for me, it's so important to honor them.
81 years later, tensions are rising again across Asia. Sonoe believes that to defend peace, Japan's remilitarization is inevitable. Yet Japanese society remains deeply divided on the issue. Kunitake, our former kamikaze pilot, cannot understand the country's military build-up. He enjoys discussing sport and politics with his son, and today, the topic is Japan's rising defense budget.
My father and I often wonder whether it's worth spending so much money on the armed forces. Increasing the defense budget means accepting the idea that war is a possibility. Even if the goal is not to directly attack another country, but simply to strengthen our military capabilities to protect ourselves, it is still, in the end, connected to war.
The former kamikaze pilot fears history will repeat itself. More than 80 years after the war, Japan has increased its defense budget by 65% in just 5 years, the biggest rise since 1945. A country that made pacifism the cornerstone of its post-war reconstruction now appears to be turning its back on that legacy.